Hi everybody, this is Kevin, and welcome back to another comic book review. And today we're going to take a look at Batman Contagion, which is really a very appropriate title with the whole coronavirus pandemic going on right now, because I'm going to show you on the back here the little synopsis, which is very strange how accurate it is today. So it says, "Plague in the streets of Gotham City. A mysterious and lethal virus is unleashed on the unknowing inhabitants of Gotham City, causing excruciating pain and ultimately death. Within 48 hours of contact, Batman, Robin, and Nightwing must race to contain the chaos while finding a cure with the help of unlikely allies Azrael, Huntress, Catwoman, and Poison Ivy. But can the Dark Knight and his team of vigilantes stop an invisible enemy? And what happens when one of them is infected?" And it's just funny, the invisible enemy, because if you've seen any of President Trump's press conferences, you say, all he says is, "It's the invisible enemy. We have to go back. It's the invisible enemy." And, this is pretty much it. The virus, the coronavirus, and Batman's fighting it. He fought it back in 1996 when this came out, in March of 1996. Great crossover event, connecting Detective Comics, Batman, Robin, Catwoman, Azrael, Shadow of the Bat, a whole bunch of different titles that came out week to week in a nice event here. And this is Contagion, and actually the next event is Batman Legacy, which I never read, but after Legacy is Cataclysm, and then after Cataclysm is No Man's Land, which is one of my favorite runs in the whole Batman series. But anyway, as you can see, this is a pretty thick trade. It has the Batman Contagion story in it, and then at the end there's like 4 or 5 issues that kind of it's done with the Contagion storyline, and I guess it bridges the gap to Legacy. So let's just take a look. We got artwork by Kelley Jones. To be honest with you, the Batman titles in this book are not as good as the other titles. In my honest opinion, the Catwoman and Robin titles are the best in this storyline, but you be the judge of that. And they credit, so Alan Grant, I don't know why they had to do it sideways, but he did a lot of the Shadow of the Bat stories, and then Kelley Jones and all the other credits there, and Doug Moench, who did a lot of the Batman books from the 80s. So we're going to start off with Shadow of the Bat, and this is the Alan Grant one, and art by Vince Girano, and you see these are the type of people that get the plague and the infection, and it's actually showing how they're experimenting on them, to see if they can get a vaccine, which, there's all these conspiracies about the coronavirus, how it was a man-made virus, and basically you see this guy, achoo, he's sneezing in the airplane on his way back to Gotham City, Andrew Howe, and he's a very wealthy man, and of course you got Batman there. The artwork's terrific. This is from 1996, so everyone, people have a love-hate relationship with the 90s. In my honest opinion, there was quite a bit of great Batman titles in the 90s, but you see Batman's putting on his hazmat suit here. A lot of funny artwork, and you see this is the infection. They call it the clench in this book. And everyone's sneezing away. You got Tim Drake, Robin in this book here. And, this guy is, the clench basically causes you to bleed out your eyes. You get all these pores, and then you're dead in 48 hours. So, they're kind of hauling themselves up in Babylon Towers. That's where all the rich people are. And then here's Detective Comics number 695 by Chuck Dixon, and artwork by Tommy Lee Edwards. The artwork in this is honestly not that great in my honest opinion, but Chuck Dixon did a lot of the great Batman books. He did Nightfall and all that. And so here's just Batman and Robin trying to get to the bottom of where this virus is, more or less. And you got Barbara Gordon as the Oracle. And at this point, Commissioner Gordon is actually not the commissioner. However, you have Harvey Bullock and Renee Montoya, who are still, supportive of him. So then you got Catwoman there, and you just see the great, the artwork for Catwoman there, and then the great artwork of Michael Ringo, who really draws women beautifully, and you see kind of subpar art to this great cover here, and you got Robin. And like I said, a lot of the Robin storylines, like the Robin and the Azrael stories in this book are really good. But basically, Catwoman is trying to find a cure for a price, obviously. You know, she's a villain, and Robin's just trying to do it for the greater good. And then you see the Penguin is orchestrating behind the scenes, trying to get this vaccine so he can sell it. And you got this guy Tracker shows up, and he's looking for it. That's who the Penguin put him up to. So they're looking in the Arctic somewhere, and Catwoman shows up looking sexy and all that, and lots of good stuff. But in the end, Catwoman uses her heart and figures that she has to help the heroes find the vaccine. And you get this guy. He just kind of looks like a typical 90s bad guy with the machine gun, the Tracker. So then here's Catwoman, and Azrael shows up there. John Paul Valley, who became the Batman for a little while during the Nightfall storyline when Bruce Wayne got his back broken. But yeah, you really see, look at that great double-page spread right there. Azrael with his sword. And Catwoman keeps calling him a choir boy. And there's just nonstop action here. Lots of good stuff. Batman's talking to Commissioner Gordon. And really, the three people here, because you have Robin, who's obviously good at heart. Azrael is kind of like an anti-hero. And Catwoman, who's the villain. So they're trying to find this guy. The Tracker's trying to get him for money. And this is the guy with his blood has the sort of immunity to the virus. So that's why they're after him. And he gets run over and, he's dead. But it turns out there's actually two other people who have the immunity in their bloodstream. So here's Dennis O'Neil doing Azrael. And this is kind of just recounting how he became the man he was. And he's, talking to Catwoman, reminiscing. And then all of a sudden, Tracker shows up again. He's still tracking him down, trying to get the money. Again, beautifully drawn artwork of Catwoman. And this guy is the one who has the immunity. And he thinks that, he's God pretty much because he has the immunity to the virus, which killed all his friends. So he says, shoot me and stab me. And he stabs his hand like a maniac. And he's like, oh, it'll come back. And then Azrael's trying to get him. And he's like, oh, you're going to shoot me whether you like it or not. And you see at the end here where he actually just stabs himself. So he stabbed his wrist or whatever. And he bled out, and then he just stabs himself there to prove that he's like immortal or whatever, and was not the smart thing to do. So now two people who had the immunity are both dead, so not good. So here's the cover page, Batman number 529 by Doug Moench and Kelley Jones. And Kelley Jones has a sort of like strange gothic art style. I don't really like it. I can see why people like it, but like the disproportionality of the cowl there, look how high his ears are. And he's making it like really gothic. Like this guy kind of looks like almost like Frankenstein, and it's a lot of black and white. And basically, this is supposed to be the gothic way of Batman trying to recruit Poison Ivy, who's drawn. She's usually drawn to look beautiful, and here she kind of looks like a stripper, to say the least. So he's getting to her, and he's basically going to say, you're immune with your plants and all that, so you can go in there to the towers where all the rich people who have the disease are being hauled up, and you go down there, and I mean, look at that. I don't know. That doesn't look good, in my opinion. Poison Ivy. She looks like a stripper. I don't know, which I guess isn't a bad thing in a certain sense, but what do you know? So he recruits all his boys, and you got another Azrael story here, and see, Poison Ivy looks so much better in this panel, but that's just my opinion. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Kelley Jones's work, but so now the Huntress joins him. You got Dick Grayson, Nightwing, and all the heroes are there to help everybody. Commissioner Gordon's back, and Poison Ivy's in there, and she's not really worried about the immunity. She's just kissing everyone, making out of everyone, and spreading the disease and proving to them that she cannot get sick. So. Batman's like, enough of this. Why the hell do we recruit you? I mean, Batman, you should have known. Poison Ivy is not a good person. She's a bad guy. Or bad girl, rather. So, more Detective Comics here. And what happened is, skipping all over the place, but someone was coughing and sneezing on Robin. So now Robin has the freaking, the coronavirus, the clench as they call it. So he takes it to Alfred, who's the doctor. And he's going to take care of young Tim Drake there. But you see it's already setting in. He's bleeding out of his eyes. And not good. And Batman's got Poison Ivy all wrapped up. and, he's regretting the fact that he tried to recruit her for this task. So they're all upset now that Robin could possibly die, and as you know, Batman already lost Jason Todd, so he doesn't want to lose Tim Drake. So I can imagine when you're reading this for the first time that you thought, wow, could they really go away with another Robin? But so then you got this thing here. So Tim Drake's there trying to rest up. Alfred's got his head in his hands. And this here, the Batman Chronicles. This is actually a story by Garth Ennis and John McCrea. And same thing, you have this guy being a carrier of the clench, and he's almost half dead. And, Batman shows up. You got a guy kind of looks like a typical mobster, Garth Ennis sort of villain, and Batman shows up in the shadows. And, he's subduing all the criminals like he always does, trying to get to the bottom of everything. It's interesting to see all the different changes in art style, because you have some really cartoony, some really blocky, some gothic-y. And all in all, it makes for a pretty good story. So here's another one. This is actually by Christopher Priest. Would you look at that? About the Huntress. And it's giving her a little recap about how, her family's dead. Everyone's dead. She's wearing a gas mask or whatever. And, she was never there for her family or anybody, and she's all by herself now. She got the bow and arrows, or the crossbow. And here's Tim Drake wakes up, or he's sort of hallucinating, and he sees his father, who reveals, oh yeah, Alfred and Bruce Wayne told me that you're Robin because, where could you go every night? And there's Ariana, his girlfriend at the time, and all this sort of thing. And then you just see deet, like the IV or whatever, and he's still there, and Alfred's saying, oh, it's okay, young Timothy. So then you got more Catwoman, and there's Tracker hauled up in the back of the car. And really, Catwoman and Azrael are the sort of ones that are able to be the good guys in the end there. And this funny scene where she jumps on this cab and says, just after that guy, go, go, go. So, just a little Catwoman, nice artwork and stuff like that. And the Tracker is still after her. However, Catwoman's actually able, that's the third and final carrier of the immunity in the blood, and brings her back to Batman while the other two died. And here's Azrael, and you can see there's the dead Robin, all the foreshadowing, and Azrael just screaming in pain. By Dennis O'Neil again. Look at that. That looks terrific. Batman and Nightwing right there. So they're all in the Batcave here, and Tim Drake is just, I'm a failure. It's all over. And then it cuts to Azrael, Jean-Paul Valley, and he's able to get the immunity. He was able to subdue the other guys, and he's out there. I mean, looks terrific. So he makes his way back to Gotham City, and you see right here, they have like the whole National Guard and martial law, and he's like, oh, bombs away, and he just jumps off the bridge into the water to get back to Gotham Medical Center. And he's there in time, gives it to Nightwing, and that's it. So really, that is the end of the, actually no, this might be the last one right here. No, that's it. So that was the end of the Contagion storyline, and all these issues here are just sort of the aftermath. And, you got Robin and Dick Grayson and all them, and all the politicians are flipping out about the mayor for not handling this very well. So they all make their way back. Commissioner Gordon is back as the commissioner. And you see that in the next issue, you have another Robin one, and he goes home and he sees Ariana, his girlfriend at the time, and he's all upset. Oh, she dyed her hair blonde, and yada, 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 and it's all this filler stuff. They could have just ended the book, with that last issue, but they went on much, much longer. I guess for people that are collecting all the storylines, because Legacy was the next book, so you have these other pieces and that sort of thing. And then he's battling all these, Greek mythology cosplayers, and they're talking in their Greek tongues and all this sort of nonsense. And it's a little story of Robin just defeating them all. And he's able to defeat them. This guy Zeus and all sorts of other guys. and in my opinion, just filler stuff. So, but in the end, he gets home, and Ariana dyes her hair back to the color it was, and he's like, "Oh, Ari, you look beautiful." So then you get these other Batman issues by Doug Moench and Kelley Jones, and you have this guy, the Dead Man, who is a character from like the 60s from Strange Adventures. And I mean, Kelley Jones's art, like I said, I don't know, it's a little too like gothic and weird in my opinion. I mean, his certain Batman drawings look great, but other ones are not really appealing to me. But and this just is kind of going. So you had Contagion and all like the horror and death. So you have the dead man guy possessing bodies, and he was sent there by a woman, like an ancient Incan woman, and Batman has to travel to South America and fight all these ghosts. It really gets kind of stupid. So in my opinion, it wasn't that good. So we're going to skip over a little bit of that. And at the end here, you get a couple more issues of Batman Shadow of the Bat by Alan Grant. And this is just Batman back doing his thing at this chemical plant. And he sees the ventriloquist and all these other villains and the scarecrow. And it turns out that he had some hallucinogenic. And there he is hallucinating. You have this great double-page spread of all the heroes fighting all the villains. And it turns out that it's this guy, Narcosis, behind it. And what he wants to do is put the hallucinogenics into all of the milk in Gotham so that everyone gets it. Because he's like, oh, well, they have cereal, they have it in their coffee and their tea and this and that. So Narcosis is there trying to get these deadly fumes going on. You have people that look like Igor. And then you see this shadowy figure, and it's the evil Batman from his dreams, the bad Batman. So, and it gives him a flashback to when his parents were killed, because we got to keep rehashing that. And eventually Batman has a showdown with Narcosis here at the very end. And what happens is he throws Narcosis into the vat of the evilness, and it shows that he's wearing a mask because he was burned alive or whatever. And that's the end of that. So overall, this was actually an okay run. I figured it would be, very proper to talk about it now since we're dealing with the coronavirus and talk about Batman Contagion. But in my opinion, it just went on way too long because you had the Contagion storyline and then you had like 5 or 6 other issues in the back to bridge the gap to the next storyline, Legacy. But the Contagion storyline is good because it actually, if you were reading it back in the day, I'm sure you felt that, oh, another Rom's going to pass away? That can't happen. But anyway, I always like to keep these videos short, but this one's going a little long because, well, you see by the size here, it's a very big book. And overall, I wouldn't really recommend it. If you're a hardcore Batman fan, I would recommend it. But otherwise, there's just way too much filler. And, they could have easily cut it in half. But I understand what they're doing. They want everyone's issues all collected and whatnot. But as for Kelley Jones's art, not really a big fan. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below if you read it before. And stay tuned for some more comic book reviews coming soon. Have a great day, everybody.